entrepreneurial journeys are always a little bit different. There's always a few different flavors out there. So I'm going to have them briefly introduce their stories. We only have 90 minutes here, so keep it under 90 minutes each there. And we are going to kind of get to know them a little bit. And as you get to know them, think about what types of questions you may want to ask them. This is a mastermind format, so really, really, really think about how can I present a question that creates an interesting conversation that everybody can learn from. All right, so your crowd participation is very important to this. All right, so let's kick it off with Jonathan. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a nurse practitioner and chiropractor. I have a clinic here in Austin. I started a health bar with my best friend from college. I stopped drinking years ago. I always wanted to open a bar with him, but we couldn't do that after a while, so we decided to open a health bar, and it's been a success. We also opened a supplement company, and we have media, online, you name it. We love health and wellness.
All right, cool. Sylvia, go ahead.
I'm Sylvia from Carnivore Snacks. I created Carnivore Snacks because of all my health issues, SIRS and Lyme disease, all that good stuff. And I was vegan for many, many years, and we focus mainly on regenerative and grass-fed sourcing of meat. That's something that's very important for me and my business partner. So just the need for having a steak in my purse, basically. That's how Carnivore Snacks came along, and I just always appreciated pureness of meat and salt. And we source from Redmond real salt, so I feel like that's a really, really good combination of, the pureness of meat and the simplicity of our product. So yeah, that's how Carnivore Snacks kind of came along.
All right. Let's hear from Judy.
Hey everyone, I'm Judy Cho. I'm also known as Nutrition with Judy. I have a private practice where we help people get to root cause healing. I'm board certified in holistic nutrition, and I'm also a author of Carnivore Cure.
I think I got this one. Hi, I'm Dorian. I'm the founder of Keto Mojo. I came to America with $750 and a backpack. When we launched Keto Mojo in 2017, within 9 months, we become the #1 selling ketone and glucose meter in America. And at the same time, we lost our house in the fires of 2017. And it was one of the most amazing roller coaster rides I've ever been on my life. We're now in 36 countries. We're cumulatively north of $100 million in gross revenue. We've debt financed that up. There is only one shareholder, and we haven't had to dilute at all in doing it. So one of the things I kind of want to get across here is you don't always have to go to the VC route. You don't always have to dilute your equity. There is another path that can be done. It's harder, but it can sometimes be more rewarding.
Nice. I'm already jealous. So, my name is Philip Meese. I'm the creator of the Carnivore Bar. I was a soldier, combat medic in Afghanistan, and not a big fan of the MRE. It was like eating glue. So I really wish I had healthy food that could survive the trip, that would be shelf stable enough to make it overseas, but also nutritious and not full of preservatives. So that was a unique challenge to make a meat MRE, and I came up with the Carnivore Bar, which is basically just pemmican. It's thousands of years old, dried meat and fat, and so that's what it is, the Carnivore Bar. Rest is history.
I'm Robert Sykes, Keto Savage, Keto Brick. We started Keto Savage in 2016. That's basically the content aspect of the business. Then Keto Brick, we launched that in 2018, and that's our food product. I went the corporate route after college. I went to work in corporate America as a train master on the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad. Did that for 2.5 years. Did not like the corporate route, so I quit that. Got $250,000 in debt, living off of credit cards. That was obviously not good. So we started the business because I was passionate about it, wanted to make a difference. And we have gone the route of keeping everything in-house from day one. We lived in a warehouse for 3 years. I don't know how I talked my wife into that one. And we've built the business up all internally. So we have learned a lot, made a ton of mistakes, and hopefully we can save y'all some of that heartache.
And Robert is my bro down there. That's why we're bookending it there. We kind of got to, otherwise I start messing with him a little bit. And we obviously have people from all different experience levels, different types of businesses. So think about who you relate to most. Are you selling a product? Are you a coach? Do you want to be an author? Do you want to be a content creator? And kind of dial in with that. I'll brag on Robert for a second because he won't tell you this. But one of the things I think is super cool about him is, has anybody ever seen Shark Tank? You know what I'm talking about? There's a certain shark that gives Robert a call every once in a while asking to be his partner to buy into his company, and he tells him no. You know what I'm saying? That's how in-house Robert Sykes is. So that kind of, I wanted to set the tone with that. All right. Now, before we dive into these people's amazing questions, I've got a few to kick off the conversation. All right. So look out. You never know what I'm going to say. I want you all to think back to when you first started your company and where you are now. What tip or piece of advice would the now you give you when you were very first starting? Maybe to avoid a major mistake that you made or something that you wish you had done more optimally. All right, let's start down at that and bring it back this way. Go ahead, Bobby Bricks.
I didn't have time to think about this one at all. Honestly, like, if somebody had a list of all the things that I had to do, all the hoops that I had to jump through, that I've had to jump through since we started, since inception, and they just handed me that list, at the onset, and said, okay, in order for you to get where you are now, you need to check off all the items on this list. I would look at that hellaciously long list and say, I'm staying in corporate America. But you don't know how long that list is at the onset, so you just simply start, and you start making progress and momentum every single day. And as long as you're making that progress and momentum every single day, you start feeling good about it. You start getting confident, especially if you're doing something that you love doing and you can see it making a difference in people that you care about, which is what I've experienced within this community. So honestly, don't get so fixated on all the business books. Like, I was a paralysis analysis type. Like, I read every single business book, listened to every single business podcast, talked to every single business expert I could. And at some point, I just had to say, to hell with the listening, I'm just going to start doing, and I'm going to get messy. Messy action is better than no action. So just start making mistakes, and you can resolve those mistakes as you go, as opposed to not making any, steps forward whatsoever. So that's kind of my high-level view there.
Great tip. Entrepreneurship, the ready, fire, aim strategy works a little bit better than ready, aim, 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 aim. All right, so make sure you get out there, like you said, get messy, get your hands dirty, and start experiencing entrepreneurship. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest entrepreneurial themes is you have to bring your own solution to the problem that you see in the world, but you also have to collaborate with your customers. I think not being dogmatic is really important. I come from the carnivore community that eats beef, salt, water, so you can get really in the weeds with dogma. And then you can get really crazy with compromise and just kind of go off the rails. So trying to find that true voice of the community and listening to each and every customer. So they'll write in, take what they have to say seriously. And ultimately, you're there as an entrepreneur to be a servant. People are using your product, if you're so lucky, on their health journey to reclaim their health. It's like, just listen. Try to be there to support them in a genuine relationship. And I think that's the way we create value and create a lasting presence in the space.
Well said. Well said. Dorian, go ahead.
So I'm not going to take credit for this. This is actually coming from Sami Inkinen of Verta House, who had, before that, True Ilya Real Estate. I went to him and asked for some advice. So first of all, go and try and find some mentors. That's really important. And he gave me 3 pieces of advice. 1, growth can kill a company. Whatever you do, do not run out of cash. 2, business is messy. Get used to it. 3, agility is your most precious nest egg. It costs you nothing, but it's easy to lose as you grow as a company. And the third one came from somebody else who said, Dorian, you do not need to make profit. You just need to buy cash and grow. So you have to kind of think about, sometimes it's not worthwhile making profits. And this is where, if you have VC money, they want 65 points of margin and an exit strategy in 5 years. So you can pull on different levers if you choose not to make profit from people sometimes.
So I don't really sell products. I mean, I have a book, but my main business, I guess, is services. And I came from corporate America and I had a pretty decent paying job. And I got sick. And then I really wanted to do nutrition because I fell in love with it. And I was kind of mad at the whole plant-based world. And I said, I need to get back at it. But I wasn't sure if I'd make enough money. And we looked at what the average salary of a nutritionist was, and it was $50,000. And I made far more than that. So I had young kids too. And it just was a very hard dilemma I was dealing with, but I still went all in. And partially it's because I was on disability, but I think that period of fear, I still was all in. And so I know that there's so many people that talk to me that say, I found this wellness thing, it's my passion, but what if I don't make enough money? And so they have like one foot in the door and one foot out, and I think it's a mistake. I know it's super scary to go all in, but I think if you find where you're passionate and then also where you're good at. So for example, I know I'm not a natural vlogger, so I'm not going to go on YouTube and be like, what's up guys? Like, it's just not my thing. And so knowing that, I'm not going to do that, but I'm pretty decent with infographics. So I went all in on that. So I think find what you're good at and then get better at it. But I wouldn't go half in, not, being unsure of, will this be enough money? Because if you ever are driven just by money, it'll never be the right answer.
Yeah, very nice. I can relate to what Rob said and a little bit to what Judy said. I've started many businesses in the past that nobody knows about, thank God. And I wasn't very passionate about those businesses, but I learned a lot from it. And I would always, starting every single one, I would have the list of things I needed to do. And I would tell my family, because you see a lot of people out there telling you, even with weight loss goals, tell everyone. That way you stick to it and they're gonna motivate you to keep going. I'm not the type of person. I'm the type of person that I'll do things quietly and people will know when it's a successful thing because they'll see it. Like with carnivore snacks, I never told anyone. I never told my family. I never told my dad because my dad is the type of person who would just bring me down. He would say like, oh, you're gonna slice meat for life with your engineering degree? Like, where is this going? And my dad is Polish. I grew up in Poland. So it's a type of thing for me where I learned a lot of in the past. And, you know, sometimes you have to figure yourself out and figure out how you work. And don't listen to everyone who's telling you, like, go out there, you know, just announce what you're going to do to everyone. And then it's just going to come to fruition, you know, just figure yourself out and follow you. You know, that's what worked for me.
Awesome. So I have two answers. The first answer is have core values. And I cannot emphasize this enough. You're going to grow and you're going to take on more people. And your vision is going to have to be translated to other people. You might share the same idea, maybe the same passion, but if they don't understand the foundation of why the business was created in the first place, it's very hard to get everyone on the same wavelength. So core values can be whatever it is. Ours, we have two of them. Education, and does it help others grow? And it's very difficult in business to make certain decisions not based off emotions. It's honest, right? It really is beneficial to not do that. And if you have core values, you can always go back and reference and say, well, do they fall in line with these? And if they don't, the decision's very easy. And then the second part is build a community. Now, this is the difficult part. Now, our business started 2013. I was mobile. Before online, it was mobile, right? So I was doing mobile house calls. I was going to people's kitchens and talking about labs and supplements. And then I started an IV bar. Okay, so think about a brick and mortar now and having an online business at the same time in 2023. Imagine trying to build two communities, both in person and online, and maintain both of them. It is tricky, however, it can be done. And if you build a community, think about that being probably the number one thing most people are looking for when it comes to health and wellness.
All right. Everybody waking up now? We're getting some good ideas cooking? All right. I'll give you a quick tip from my perspectives. I see this. I grew up in the fitness space. You know, I owned a gym for 10 years, I had 2 health podcasts, sold a health podcast. You know, I've done a lot in that space. What I see now with my clients that I'm helping launch podcasts or grow their business via podcasting, people in the health space tend to not charge what they're worth. All right? Let that sink in a little bit. You know, as a business coach, I can kind of charge whatever because people are like, well, he's going to add 6 figures to my business. Of course, I'll pay him 10 grand because that makes sense. They see the return on investment. But in health, a lot of your ideal clients and customers don't realize the return on investment. They don't see that you just added 20 years of quality to their life, maybe saved their life by helping them, you know, reclaim their health. Like, these are major returns on investment. So you have to keep that in mind when you're setting up your programs, products, and services. If you're an online keto weight loss coach or whatever, and you're spending significant time with your clients, really think about not dollars per hour, but like dollars per impact, and charge what you are worth. You should not be out there charging $57 for 3 weeks of one-on-one coaching or whatever. I know I will get the question about, well, what should I charge? When I'm working with a health coach specifically, I'm like, I need you to have a $1,500 package minimum. And if you feel like guilt about that, we can always add things to it until you feel better. Just keep adding value to the package until you feel comfortable charging what I want you to charge. So that could be a 3-month coaching package. That could add a few more one-on-one sessions. Maybe there's an online course component that goes with that. But really think about adding value until you feel comfortable charging what you're worth. Does that make sense? Yes.
So I went to Nutritional Therapy Association. It's a school for nutritional therapy. And what I'll tell you is most people that graduate from there, they're not super successful. And so they either have to get a second job or they just say, this was my passion project and it didn't do well enough, and they leave. And it's because it's exactly what you said. They don't think that they're ready enough. So either they charge super low or they say, I just need X amount more certifications and then I can go and start helping people. But what they learn in school is so much more than the average person knows to start healing. And I just think there's not enough confidence there. And I came from a business background of 12 years. I was a management consultant. And so I just dived in. It was very tempting to say, okay, I need to also do that program and that program. But I also knew I'm just going to dive in because that's really how I'm going to learn on the job. And it was really scary. The very first handful of clients, I felt like such an imposter. And sometimes when they're like, why is X going on? I really inside was like, I don't know either. But I did my research and I keep doing research to figure out, okay, so what other cases have been seen in studies, et cetera, to figure out why you may be suffering from this. And that's how I ended up with carnivore and et cetera. But you can't be led by fear. And you also, I know it's like, well, I don't know if I'm worth X amount of dollars, but you will get one. You need buy-in from the people that are buying your services or your products. And if it's so low, they're only half invested. They're like, okay, your service isn't that expensive, so I'll just try it. And if it doesn't work, well, it wasn't that much money. But I want people to be fully invested, and it comes with a dollar amount. And I know it's so hard when social media loves to go, you're just gouging people for money, but it's way beyond that. And so that would be my tip as a service provider.
So I used to have a health coaching business, and for me, it was very easy to have a low price to help the people who are very broken because I felt so sorry for them, and they couldn't afford the services. So I felt like if I lower my price, I can help more people. But then what I found out at the end was that they weren't committed. They would cancel the session or never show up. I would never charge them like the cancellation fee because I felt bad for them because they were so sick. So I thought that I was giving helping them, but I wasn't. So really, if you charge what you're worth, and you are worth a lot because what you know is really valuable, just do that, because you really, if you feel like if you lower your price and can help more people, you really are not.
Yeah. Do you want a Rolex brand or a Timex brand? You know, you got to think about that. Robert, I know you do online coaching, and he's got coaches that coach underneath them. Any thoughts on pricing or putting together coaching and charging what you're actually worth?
Yeah, I started super cheap. Like I started, I think, charging $100 a month for one-on-one coaching with daily interaction. And at the time, I was broke. I mean, like I said, I was $250,000 in debt. So like anytime I got a client, that was a win. Like Crystal and I would celebrate a little bit. And that grew it to, at one point, I had 100 clients doing one-on-one coaching with daily interaction. And that just was not sustainable. It's not healthy. I still charge way less than I'm worth now because I'm not making the one-on-one coaching the main component of my business. I'm working on an online course that's much more scalable. So that you find ways to scale. But honestly, everything with pricing and charging what you're worth translates to products as well. I mean, I'm sure Carnivore Bar, Carnivore Snacks, us with Keto Brick, like you have to know your margins. We've increased prices twice. Once last year, once this year in February. Both times it's scary as hell because you're putting yourself out there. You don't know if people, like I remember crunching the numbers, looking at our costs, looking at the ingredient cost rises, looking at cost of employment rising, like just all of our costs. And then crunch the numbers on a spreadsheet. I literally did not sleep at all the month of January this year because I was running numbers, looking at spreadsheets, like live and breathe and sleep in spreadsheets. And I was looking, I'm like, okay, if we don't increase our margins or our prices by X amount, we're literally making negative 1% right now. That's not good business, you know? So you got to know your numbers. You have to increase that cost. And what we've done is just been incredibly transparent with our customers. Anytime we've increased the prices, I've made a podcast episode, I've recorded a YouTube video, I've shown them the numbers so that they can see why things are getting more expensive. And I think if you're incredibly transparent with your customer base, like we got zero kickback. We increased our prices, you know, pretty substantially, and I got no negative feedback. We put the video out there and people were commenting, you should increase them more, you know, and I'm like, I like the way you think, you know. So keep that in mind and just know that you have to charge what you're worth. You have to charge more than what your product costs to make, or you will go out of business. Is it better to cost a little bit more, whether it's a service or a product, but be able to offer that service or product, or simply go out of business and not have that as an option for your customer base in the first place? Obviously, you got to charge more.
Add to that. I just let you bang on when you're talking about spreadsheets. You know, your P&L is so important. Your general ledger, when you set up your chart of accounts, make sure your budget is exactly the same as your chart of accounts. So it folds out exactly the same way. So line by line, you can look up from actuals to what your budget, what your thoughts was, so you can reforecast. So we're reforecasting every month. And like where you said, when you're getting down and you've got 1% at the bottom line and it suddenly tips over, that's when you're like, hey, I've got to adjust course. Just like we do testing for ourselves, you know, we should do testing for our P&Ls as well.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that. So I think, Robert, you definitely hit it nail on the head with, you know, is it better to charge more and continue existing, or to just go out of business? And like that's really the decision, because you have to be able to also, like what Judy is saying, like you have to stomach charging what you're worth so that you can continue providing the service that people are counting on you to provide. You know, and that's really ties back into you're a part of their journey. And so if you just, you know, if your light snuffs out and your business goes under and someone was counting on you, then they don't have anything to fill that niche. So you really do have to charge at least, you know, $1 more than it costs you to make it so that you can keep on going. For us, like meat, during the pandemic, things got crazy. From 2019, when I started my Kickstarter, to now, on the producer side, beef is up 300%. And on the, you know, labor costs, it's up 600%. So we raised our prices 40%. You know, we're basically chasing break even. And every time we get more efficient as a Kickstarter, obviously we're making these by hand, going super, super slow. And then we have this breakthrough in efficiency, and then prices increase. And so then we raise our prices. Now we break even again. And it's like, okay, we have another breakthrough. And then we break even again. And it's like we're chasing this elusive price hiking because all kinds of crazy things are happening with supply chains, and they're messing with businesses, and they're messing with, lead times. You can't count on things to get done on time. And it's like, well, I either exist and support my people, or, I just, give up. And it's like, your customers will surprise you with how loyal and how generous and giving and how committed they are to this healing process. And that ties into what Silvio is saying. You want those VIP customers who really care, who are up at 7 a.m. to find out more. It's like you want the VIPs because they are worth more than all the casual customers combined.
There's also a little flip side to that. You can also scale so that you get better efficiencies than putting up price. But that's a lot harder because you've got to try and find that business to get up onto that part. So obviously with scale, everything comes a lot easier. You can do more with less people. And that can also be an adjustment. So you'll face the choices like, how do I go out and sell more without having to put my price up? We haven't ever put our price up. We guaranteed $1 a strip for life. That was a bit ballsy to actually do that one. Would I do that again? Maybe not. But since we got scale, we were able actually to reduce down. So our ketone strips are now 80 cents. So we managed it again. So when we first launched, the price was really expensive, like $4 to $5. So when we came into the market, we changed the price by 75%. And that was a real great value proposition. So sometimes value can be a benefit, but also don't undervalue yourself so you go under.
All right. So are we having them line up for questions? Do we need them on a microphone? People? All right. What we'll do, let's just do raise hands, and then we'll do that. All right. So, all right. So we've got questions. Let's hand in the back there. Let's go for it. Just be nice and loud so we can. Oh, there we go. Do that. That works too.
Do you want a line or do you want to press the mic?
Let's maybe line up right behind the microphone if you have a quick question. And
Testing.
there we go.
Hello, everyone.
They're recording this. We need the audio.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hello, my name is Autumn Weathers. I'm the owner and founder of Keto Strong, which is a keto apparel t-shirt brand where I make t-shirts for keto, consumers as well as for other keto t-shirt or businesses that need t-shirts. And when I tell businesses like, hey, I'm in the t-shirt business, I'd love to help you out. And when I tell other people I'm in the apparel producing business, and Robert, I'm sure you've heard this, it's just like, oh, you can drop ship, you can outsource, I get it done on Amazon, or just do this, like just outsourcing it, right? And it's really been interesting to explain to people that like, no, this is the business I want to be in. I want to scale and grow my own t-shirt production shop. And so my question is to the people that produce products and maybe even services in terms of just take on more people to do it for you. What has been your response to being committed to produce the products yourself in-house versus how do you balance that with, like you mentioned, being able to scale and mass produce them and find these efficiencies? What has your commitment been to, this is a part that we're never going to let go of, and this is a part we can trust other people to do because it'll save us time and money? And then also, do you have a commitment to work with other small businesses so that you can give them your business or work with them to help them grow versus just outsourcing to a large manufacturing company? Is that part of what you look for in partners as well?
Robert, you want to kick it off, man?
Yeah, so there's two different ways to go with products, particularly. I mean, you can go the route, like in food, you can go co-packing, co-manufacturing, or you can keep everything in-house. And when we first started the business, we were getting some momentum. Like, we made a few sample rounds, and the first time we launched, Crystal and I drove 3 hours to a commercial kitchen space, stayed up all night long, made 142 bricks by hand with literally a fork and a measuring cup mixing these piece by piece. Took us all night long, made 142 bricks. We put them on the website. They sold out in 2 minutes. That's when we knew we had something. So from there, we're like, okay, do we want to keep scaling this up, or do we want to find a co-packer? So we started calling co-packers, and they all told me that what you're doing cannot be scaled. It will not be successful. You don't have the margins, and they all wanted to add, flavoring agents, filler ingredients, and just sacrifice the quality. And I built this because I was so, beholden to making it the highest quality product in the world. So I didn't want to go that route. So we decided to keep everything in-house. From there, we moved down. We started using this commercial kitchen space that we were paying by the hour for $20 an hour. We stayed up all night long making those, hired my cousins, hired my family, and then we're like, okay, we got to scale up. So we rented a commercial kitchen that we lived in for 3 years. We had a 3-year lease on it. And then in 2020, we bought an old grocery store, totally renovated it, and now we have our own space. When you go the route of keeping everything in-house, you're going to have so many headaches. There's headaches both ways. So you have to kind of ask yourself, what lifestyle do you want? Do you want to be the person that's having headaches calling your co-packer and trying to get lead time straightened out, trying to figure out their price changes and having all that issue? Or do you want to be the person that's having the headaches of, okay, I've got employees, I've got equipment malfunctions, I've got to fix this, fix that. You're going to have headaches either way. For us, I love the process. I love the journey. I love figuring out and seeing how things work. I love waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, driving to my warehouse to crank up the music before anybody gets there and sweep my own damn floor, because it's my damn floor. I like that, all right? So if you are that type of person, then double down on keeping things in-house and then just grow. And then I would recommend doing so internally as well, like bootstrap the finances if you can, because you're going to have so much better feel for where your strong points are, where your weak points are, and you just have a much better pulse on your business than if you were to go the route of angel investors that you're going to have to then be beholden to, and then you're just working for a boss again. And I got into it to escape that. So you really just have to figure out lifestyle design and kind of how you want to structure that. But if you're doing things internally, then buckle up, ladies and gents.
Go ahead.
Well, I totally agree. I do all of our stuff in-house for exactly the same reasons. With the carnivore bar, we're catering to the beef salt water crowd. I've added more flavors, added a little bit of pluck. Shout out to James. And, I've added a little bit of raw honey, which for in the keto community is like a big, no, you crossed a Rubicon. But so we do a very, very low carb so that you can stay in ketosis, hopefully, and very, very high fat. So that idea is animal-based and, just absolutely natural things that ancestrally would have eaten. That's hence the cave painting. But, to do it that way, that's not compatible with modern manufacturing whatsoever. Like Robert was saying, it's like I had PhDs, food scientists, tell me that they couldn't help me because my food was too functional. I was like, so pemmican is naturally shelf stable, like legendary shelf stability, like 50 plus years. We're trying to validate 25 years because it has no moisture in it. Because, ancestrally you'd break it down with a mortar and pestle and then render the tallow over a fire, and then you'd mix it together by hand with this painstaking process. Now we've modernized our process to meet modern food safety, but it's still so fragile. You got to keep it sealed away from oxygen. You got to, render the fat. I know Robert deals with exactly the same thing with the cacao butter. Like you got to pour it into molds, break it out, make sure the edges are crisp. And it's like, if you just give that to some factory that's processing a bunch of allergens and crap on their equipment and they don't care, you're giving your baby your precious product that people are counting on you to provide allergen free. You're introducing that vulnerability, which just for me was completely unacceptable given who I serve.
So I'm going to do a little bit of a flip side on that. Ours is a class 2 medical device. So we need to have a high quality of medical manufacturing. So yes, we use a big company to do that. We also use large companies to do our finances because we're in 36 countries and we pay tax in every state or in America. So it's nice to have a 600-page tax return. Yay. But with our consultants for marketing, we do all independents. There's one lad, I don't know if he's in here, the audience today, his name's Dan Tahir. He's my Amazon guy. I was his third customer. And I took a flyer on this young lad, and my gosh, he is amazing. And when you find great consultants like that, oh, you stick with them. So we have a whole bunch of different consultants. And also when you're just growing, it means you don't have too much overhead for headcount. Because once you get headcount and employees, you get this emotional attachment to them because you realize that you're responsible for 15 families. I never wanted to have kids. Now I've got 15 families. Oh my good gosh. So you kind of like pick it a little bit and you change over time as the marketplace adjusts. So yes, there are times for the independents, but I also think there's a time when if you want to scale up, you've got to bring in some bigger manufacturing prowess in which to do it.
For us, when I started, we were going to outsource everything. So the idea I had, I created it in a commercial kitchen, and I was producing on a small scale. And we were hoping to outsource the production to co-packer. And the first few that we reached out to, they said that nobody's going to produce this for us because it's too time consuming and it's just, there's no margins. And they were right. Nobody would produce this for us. So we ended up creating a company, manufacturing, buying our own equipment. And the first day, it was still just me, slicing the meat, salting it after it was done. And everything was done by hand. And the first day when I was doing that to fill all the Kickstarter orders, I literally was breaking down, like at the facility, crying, calling my business partner saying, you know what, F salt, like it's gonna be saltless meat because I'm not gonna salt every single piece of meat by hand. And he talked me out of it. He's like, well, nobody's gonna pay for DIY jerky. I'm like, well, people will. But now you know that, we salt the meat still by hand. And the reason why we decided to keep it all in-house is for quality issues. And when we did have other co-packers try to do this for us, they were cutting corners everywhere. And even though they would say, you can still say that it's just salt and meat, but you can put in a little bit of preservative here and there and nobody will know because if it's under a certain percentage, you don't have to tell anyone. So, but I'm like, okay, but I can taste it. I was always such a purist when it came to food. I can taste every little bit of whatever powder was in there, like celery powder or whatever else. And me personally, I would react to that. I'm like, I'm not gonna produce something that I don't believe in. So for us, we decided to keep production in-house, stick to our values of keeping it high quality and not adding anything whatsoever to it. And also same thing with fulfillment. We keep everything in-house. That way we can make sure that we ship it out as soon as we can. And we're not dealing with any drawbacks and anything that, we just like to be in charge. So if you care for that, if you care to keep quality to your standard and you're a hard worker, just keep it in-house.
So from a product standpoint, I'll tell you, we have a vitamin clinic and we have vitamin supplements. And they're both coming from places inspected by the FDA. I'm sticking a needle in your arm full of vitamins. I have to make sure they're the highest quality possible, and you only expect that from me, right? The same goes for supplements. And the bigger picture of it, you demand quality. You wouldn't take an inferior supplement from Walmart, you know that. So when people come at us and they say, what's the ingredients? Then they say, where are they sourced from? Tell me about the product. They want to know more about it. So then I say, go quickly back to your community, and they keep talking about scalability. Supply chains are hard, and everyone learned during the pandemic, it is very much expensive to have a bunch of supply chains. So if you can minimize your costs and products, if you keep it in-house, it's going to cost you money. And I've seen it go both ways. Our standards are high. So we have high quality products, which means our community, we're not marketing to the Walmart crowd. Okay, we know our demographics. We know who buys our products. Okay, that's why I'm saying if you have a community that you're building around and you're supporting it, these people will buy your T-shirts. They'll buy your carnivore snacks because they're literally saying, I know this. I believe in the product. I know I can't find it anywhere else. I'm going to go out of my way to get it.
All right. Now, one through line as I mentally take notes here, all these folks had so-called experts tell them it couldn't be done. And they said, oh, I'm going to go out and prove you wrong. So sometimes you have to kind of bet on yourself a little bit. And I think every single person up here has done that. And even if you have these so-called experts saying it can't be done, let's go out and prove the world wrong sometimes and create something special. All right. All right. Next question.
Good morning. Thank you guys so much for sharing. I just wanted to pick your brain for a second on marketing, if I could. I just was wondering where you each feel like you've got sort of the biggest bang for your buck in marketing, you know, where you're finding clients. If you want to personalize it just a little bit, my wife and I have made a sort of Netflix quality documentary. And so we're just, you know, trying to get it out there and just not sure what the best way to do that is. Thank you.
All right. Who wants to kick it off?
Can I go ahead and start? Perfect. All right. TikTok. Simple. I'm not even joking. So my producer told me last year, you need to have a TikTok account. I'm a practitioner. I wasn't going to school to learn how to tell people about their liver and their brain when it comes to TikTok. So I'm like, are you serious about this? All right, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. We sell supplements. I get consults. Every time I go in and I answer a question, I know it's leading to a sale or an email. It's leading to something maybe long-term value. I go to sleep. I wake up, there's comments. I show up Monday, there's shipments going out. It's a powerful tool. And it's interesting because it's changed the game, right? I'm a brick and mortar for crying out loud. If I go into the clinic, I go into the lounge, I call it, I can see 30 people in a day. Scalability, they see you when you're sleeping. And I keep going back to the community because honestly, if you don't have a community, why would they be staying up late at night to watch you or listen to you? You have value. Each one of you have value. Each one of us has value. CPG is changing the world right now because they saw a problem, they created a solution. And then what's really going to sell it is your story. Why should I buy from you? It's because I listened to you for 30 seconds. You told me why you created what you did. You told my story. I'm going to buy your product for life.
Yes, community is huge. Without you guys, Nutrition with Judy, who helped us, me as and with my personal health and with the brand, community is huge, and that's how it starts. My business partner, who told me himself, he's like, nobody's gonna buy this. I'm like, well, maybe people who are as sick as I am will buy this product. And turns out that, yeah, there's other people who want the same thing I wanted. And then my business partner, I am super grateful for him because he's into marketing and he knows all the social media and he knows people. So it's not necessarily that you have to learn everything yourself. You can outsource that. And you can hire a team who knows exactly what you need. You just have to find that. You don't have to put that on yourself to learn every single aspect of the business. You can just hire the right people.
Yeah, definitely on that one. Consultants can really, really help you out on that one there. I haven't even done TikTok. I'm like, do I have to do another social platform here? I'm not really a Twittery sort of like person. But just kind of like the platforms that we work off, we get very successful direct to consumer on Facebook. So we have a continual drip campaign that's going on that. But we're not saying buy our product. We're actually serving up information to them, something that is interesting to them. So it's very much a soft sell. LinkedIn is very good for us to do B2B for the medical professionals and stuff like that. So again, we're offering up a new paper, something that is interesting, your movie, or we'll put something out on that. So it's not like, hey, we're trying to sell you, but we find that we get sales underneath that, even though we're not actually selling on that part that is there. But for our Google ads, we use a small consulting firm for that. But the biggest amount of money for us, because we have a product, is our Amazon ads.
I think what's really important is it's not just marketing. I really think your product, your service has to be good. So you don't want to always have to look for new customers. I know for products it's slightly different, but at least for service, you want to make sure that you keep your customers happy or your clients and that they will then recommend you. So you will, as you grow, your marketing per customer becomes more expensive because you're growing. And so you have a higher, I guess, overhead for that. So what you want is that for every person you touch and you do good for, that you hope that they will then recommend you to someone else. And the only way they'll do that is if your product or service really helps. And so it's not just, I'm just going to put out a bunch of ebooks. It has to be high quality content and service. And then that's when you can raise your prices and you can have and build the communities. But if your product is not good or your service is not good, it will eventually die. And you will have to, again, find so many customers, but it becomes, as you grow, the customer cost will be more and more expensive. So that's like one thing. But in terms of marketing, you can do it either in-house. Again, if your skill set is to do things on TikTok, do that thing. If you need to outsource that, then do that. I don't really use TikTok. We're on there. We probably have very few followers, but I'm decent at infographics. So we started there. And so I did Instagram. It is hard to convert. I don't know exactly how many clients we get from that because you have to go to your stories or you have to have them go to a different link. And it's a lot easier when, if let's say on YouTube or on Facebook, there's a clickable link and say, click on that link. Whereas Instagram, you have to direct people in multiple things. So if I started again, I'd probably start on YouTube as much as my follower count is bigger on Instagram. So yeah.
Just touch on that. A customer acquisition strategy really helps. We had one consultant show us the pathway. We had no idea what the pathway of when a customer was coming, because at the end of the day, getting somebody to prick their finger and get some blood in the game, there's a pretty long journey. And usually it's like, where do they start? Where they want to start out like, well, how do I do this? So we were like, okay, we'll give them how to do it. Then they were like, recipes. Okay, we'll give them recipes. Then they might want to use urinalysis strips. Okay, we'll give them urinalysis strips. And each way along the way, we've kind of like had another touch point with them until finally we get to the point of where, okay, they're going to buy our product and prick the finger. So you've got to learn what your customer acquisition strategy, where do you want to get to and where do you think that pathway is going to lead to? And that kind of like helps denote sort of like what your marketing strategy could potentially be for it.
I think the creating value is a great starting point. Your product actually has to be good. So I echo what Judy was saying there. It's like my marketing budget was $0 initially. So it was basically I reached out to people like Nutrition with Judy and just like, hey, would you like to try this thing? And just let me know what you think. And I did that with a bunch of different influencers and affiliates. So, and that was actually how Robert found me, invited me on his podcast when I was nobody. I barely had a product put together, and you were like, hey, let's just talk about, high fat and keto and bro out. And it, like that community of like people in the low carb space, like reaching out and just creating this network of you're in this fight with me. And that community aspect dovetails really well with the affiliate marketing, especially if you have a physical product. For something like a film, I think having people vouch for it, that word of mouth, and that authentic word of mouth is really where it's at. And yeah, sometimes there is, commission based, but you're trying to honor them for their time. They're following the good business coaching advice. They are being respected for the audience they spent years developing, and you're honoring that. It's not you're giving them money, so now they're going to say this thing they don't like is awesome. That's not what you want. You want somebody who is already on your team, already in your fight, and then you want to bring them to you, and then if it's necessary, compensate them for their time. That is, I started at $0, but now affiliate marketing is how I've built out. And I spend a lot now with Meat Mafia, who is our copywriters, who writes a lot of our social media content. Because I'm engineering, trying to scale up as fast as I possibly can doing a lot of engineering and chemistry, everything besides add preservatives to mechanically engineer this pemmican and scale up to make it more affordable and efficient, to create that margin. But I spend a lot on this presence of being in the community. Like, hey guys, we are with you. Aren't seed oils terrible? It's like, how do we eat low carb when we're out and about? Whether it's community posts about, for carnivores, they do like stacks of burgers without the bun, And so it's like, well, this restaurant has 100% beef. This has something else in it. It's like, maybe don't get stacks of burgers from that restaurant. So these little community engagements, these little taps or reminders, these presents, it's so important to find copywriters and allies in the space who can shout out in alignment with your voice. Because you can't do it all. You can't be, like you were saying with the vitamins, you can't be tweeting in your sleep. But if you have partners, you can. You can have people kind of extend your reach, but finding that authentic voice is really challenging. Because if it's not you doing all the content, it's like it's hard to be a practitioner or an engineer or an entrepreneur or a CEO and a content creator. So you're torn between that too. If you're a founder of something in-house, it's like, well, what do you do with your time? So that's just something to consider as you build out affiliate marketing, building a community, and find copywriters who can speak as if they are coming from you and that you actually agree with every single word they're saying.
We're all talking about marketing because it's very important, so hopefully you're all taking notes. I talk to people, they come to me and say, hey, I'm going to start a business. I'm like, great, what do you got in plan for your marketing efforts? And I'm like, well, I'm going to get some business cards made, I still don't have business cards, all right? Like, that is not where you want to focus your efforts. So marketing is incredibly important, and there's different ways to go about that. A lot of people go the route of paid advertising, and Dorian's killing it with that. I have not figured that aspect out yet. For a while, I was paying a company $7,000 a month to do, Google ads, retargeting ads, and then they went out of business, so all of that budget effectively got turned off, and it didn't affect my sales at all. So, okay, I'm not making any money with paid advertising, so I'm not going to double down on paid advertising right now. I'll figure it out later, but I'm not doing it right now. So I've always, from the very beginning, focused on just building the community organically. And if you've listened to my podcast, you don't hardly ever hear me talk about Keto Brick or my coaching. I just simply add value in the podcast, and then people want to dig deeper into my world, find out more, and they find out about the coaching and the Keto Brick. And if you're adding value, like you asked for your Netflix documentary, put some of those clips on YouTube for free. Put them on Instagram for free. It's scary to put away your paid content out there for free, but everything in my coaching, and the same I'm sure true with Judy, everything she tells her clients that are paying her money, she's probably said before in a YouTube video or on a podcast or written a blog post about, but people want to pay for the convenience. So put stuff out there for free. Gary Vaynerchuk wrote a book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. The whole premise of that is give value, give value, give value, and then ask for a sale. And people are going to be much more receptive to that. And when it comes to, creating content and then just being the best you can be in that, find what, medium works well for you. I know I need to probably do TikTok, but I hate short form content. I love YouTube videos. I love podcasting. I love having an actual conversation with people. And if you do that, figure out what resonates well with you, your audience is going to see that transparency and they're going to find it more authentic, and they're likely going to double down on, taking you up on that offer.
One last thing I just want to bring up is, I think it kind of alludes to what you were just saying, but I think there's a difference between building a brand versus marketing. I think marketing is just short term, trying to get out there, trying to make a sale. But I think what you really want to do is build a brand. What are you represented for? I have a specific logo, color scheme for all of my infographics, so it's very difficult to miss what my brand is. And I just give out a bunch of content. Robert, I don't really talk. I also sell supplements. It's not a big part of my business, but I do. And I never talk about supplements. I never really even talk about my coaching or what we do in-house. I may say clients, but sometimes people say, oh, you work with people one-on-one. And it's because I'm all about service provider. Let me give you content. Let me help you. And this is how then maybe for the people that are willing to pay, they may have to pay a pretty penny, but for all the other people, I'm giving all this free content that if you are actually very proactive, you can heal yourself with all the free content I give out there. So I think it's more than just marketing. I have never paid a single penny for marketing. I've never done Facebook ads. Maybe one day I will, but not now. And it's because, again, like my content, my brand is what I have and share, and I also have values. So if as my team grows, my first and foremost thing I say to them is, if you do not believe in these values, you cannot be part of this team. And I'm very, very strict about that. And so there's things about honesty, representing yourself for who you are, and trust, and it's on our website. But there's so many things that are just beyond marketing. You can't think of how do I make the sale today, but it's more of how do I make somebody a lifetime person that will love us and trust us. And that's why, again, it goes back to your brand and service, and it has to be real. It cannot be, let me do a dance, trust me, and now let me sell you. It has to be, are you really offering a product and service that can truly help people change? And when you get that heart and that service and product, then you can make the money. It will come.
Can I add one little thing? I don't want to be too long-winded here. You can spend a little bit of your time making a subpar product and then spend the rest of your life trying to figure out how to market it, or you can make something that's a disruptor in the industry and then let people market it for you, like the affiliate marketing, the influencer marketing. Like people are talking about our products because they're passionate about it. You know, I don't know if y'all are familiar with Mark Bell, but he's got like 1 million some odd followers. He makes a protein blend. We did a collaboration with him, put that in the brick, and then, you know, we were doing all this promotional stuff for it. He made like one little bitty, you know, Instagram post, and that increased our follower count by like, I don't know, 1,000 in 30 minutes, and then we sold out in a few days. And he was like, Robert Sykes is the only guy I know with balls big enough to make 1,000-calorie bar. You know, like, that's a disruptor thing right there. We made 1,000-calorie bar. None of those exist. Like, do something that's unheard of, and then people can't help but talk about it.
Well said. I don't think they mind anybody getting long-winded up here. You guys are enjoying this, right? All right. Now, Robert earlier mentioned my favorite word, podcast. I'm going to give you two quick thoughts, two quick superpowers about marketing with a podcast and why it's good for anybody that's ready to grow a brand or a business of any kind. The first superpower is that people will set their schedule and insert your content into their life routine. So if you listen to a podcast that you're like obsessed with, I guarantee you listen to it on a specific day at a specific time when you do a specific thing. Like when I release new episodes of Podcasting Business School on Tuesday and Friday, I know there are people out there that are like, yeah, new episode on Tuesday. I listen to Adam's show when I drive my kids to school on Tuesday morning, or when on my commute back home on Tuesday night, or while I work out over my lunch break. People don't consume other content like that. They don't consume TikTok like that. They don't do email marketing like that. They don't consume YouTube videos like that. You're not like, it's Wednesday at 6 a.m. Got to go watch Robert's YouTube video. Like, they watch it, but they consume it differently. You can be the literal voice of reason in somebody's earbuds, and you get inserted into their life routine. So it's just a part of that. That's a superpower. The other superpower is 100% deliverability. When someone subscribes to your show, it shows up on their phone every time you put out a new episode. There's no spam filter. There's no algorithm. And they get that notification, hey, new episode, Keto Savage, new episode, Podcasting Business School. That is unique to the space. All right. So obviously I'm very biased, but that's a little bit of advice there from the podcasting space. All right. Next up.
So the base question is there a time to get a bank loan? In my situation, I'm a functional nutritional therapy practitioner and strength and conditioning coach, and I have my own space inside of another facility. But let's say for the strength and conditioning part, the most people I can see at one time is 4, which limits potential class size, even though what I do mostly is one-on-one. But to have my own standalone brick and mortar place, I'm going to go from a $600 a month overhead to a $5,000. So a bank loan could fund that, but what is your opinion on bank loans?
Can I speak to this real quick? Having a brick and mortar, can I ask you, what was the money going to be for again? To have the physical space and the build out and all that? To expand your bandwidth?
Yes.
How many hours do you have in a day?
Well, do work?
How many hours do you have in a day? Okay, I have 24 as well. So if you think about this, I run into the same problem. You're going to cap yourself out. And then you're going to have to hire someone else to come in and do exactly you. So if you can't duplicate yourself, taking out a loan is not going to do it. Right? So you have to look at how do you maximize your time and effort to work smarter. Right? So if you think about it, there's a lot of gyms out there, they're doing crazy things. They have barber shops over in their gyms nowadays. Right? They'll have a podcast studio out there. There's many ways to look about it. Money will always be there. But when you take out a loan, the time clock is ticking. And now you have a mortgage, you have rent, and you have a loan on top of it. And then you have to go get clients. And your business is always going to be new clients, which means the clock is ticking. You're always on the go. I would just say if you know you're going to take money out, know exactly what to do with it to get a 3 to 4, 5% or 5 times return. Like that's how I look at it. It's an ROI. You're the investment. And if you can right now, the bootstrapping of it is time. That's your biggest investment. That's what you need. Cash is king, of course, but your time is everything right now. And so, like I say, if you take $150,000, have good terms on it. And if you want to, you can do a friend thing. Banks suck. They don't like small businesses at all. Small business loans you can maybe get, but keep in mind, friends will give you terms of 2 to 3%. Banks will give you 12%. And credit cards too.
So getting a loan from a bank, so anybody who's a small business, and you're trying to go to get any money from a bank, forget about it. They don't care. But what banks do care about is, do they have collateral? Can they resell it? What is their risk exposure that's going to be on it? So if you're going to buy something for bricks and mortars, a bank will actually probably give you a loan for that because they've got the collateral there. But you're going to have obviously the down payment to get into that, to get that 20%. But your point was really valid on, think you've got one revenue stream if it's just you. So we're a lot seeing in some biohacking labs. I've got one that's local in my town. They have a men's grooming, they have a female's grooming, they've got the ARX machines, they've got their cold plunge, they've got their sauna. So they've got 2 other tenants that are actually bringing a polyculture in. So if you can diversify your monetary streams that come on in, you reduce down the risk and increase the chances of you from having success. But for debt financing up, I did 6 credit cards to begin with. I tried to go around my friends for money, but nobody wanted to lend me any money. So also other ways of getting funds in, your e-commerce engine like Shopify, you can get Shopify loans. The rates are atrocious, like 17, 18% loans. And you're like, holy cow, but if you're trying to grow and that's the only way you can do it, then you might choose that. If you're selling on Amazon, occasionally you'll get to see the magic Amazon loan button will come up. But before that, you can do sellers and on-decks. You can use these fintechs that link in through an API, and they'll loan you 3-month revolvers and stuff like that. So there are other methods. But banks, they are belt and braces, and they'll only want something that's collateraled.
Sorry, one more thing. There was a company that actually fell in between the banks because they told us the same thing. They said small businesses are never going to get a loan. Ours in Austin was called People's Fund, and they gave us I think it was 12%. Not great, but they gave us some money because we were a small business. They said no one else is going to give you this, so it's either go to credit card, and then the loan, or you try to ask for friends. And the truth is, once you're successful, you'll find all the money you want. Like people will say, you want $40,000 right now? Here you go. And I'm like, no, because what's it attached to?
And other SBA loans, really, really, really great SBA loans. But my God, the paperwork. Oh my God, the paperwork. But Ted Taken of Sated gave me a name, Keith Kohler. He's in Florida. And he goes take a look at your books. He'll go through it and says, if you are a candidate or you're not a candidate, that's free for the audit. And he did all the paperwork. I've got 4 SBA loans out of that one there. So that was a case of where an independent consultant did a really great job for us.
So I should say, as a Kickstarter who started pricing my product way too low because I had no idea what it would cost to make, loans are really tricky. Like you can get into some serious bad situations. The new thing out besides credit cards and borrowing from friends, which I don't recommend, is working capital loans. So basically this is the Amazon button, Shopify, PayPal. These working capital loans are kind of these Faustian bargains where you're paying you're paying a percent of your income.
Daily sales.
Yeah.
Daily sales.
Yeah. So yeah, you're paying your daily sales back, and so I would just caution anybody to be really careful with that, because you can get in this feedback loop where you're making less and less profit. So if you take a risky loan like that, or from friends and family, which is even more risky, because you're putting social collateral online. Just really do the spreadsheet, do your homework. Like, how many more clients will you need to actually be able to pay this off? How much throttling of your income can you actually afford? Because I did a bad job of this. So just to be fully transparent, like, I started this business for passion, and I really needed this product for my own survival. And so I kind of threw caution to the wind, and that got me into some really painful situations. So do your due diligence, make sure the math checks out, and don't always say yes.
Yeah, just from a really simplistic tactical perspective, I just think of it as, if your new overhead is $5,000 just for that, how much hourly do you charge? If you had, assuming a full amount of patients or clients, how many do you have to see? And then does that even make sense from a cost perspective? And then if that doesn't make sense, if you had to bring in more people, you just have to figure out, does it end up breaking even? And if it doesn't, then it maybe doesn't make sense to necessarily open the brick and mortar, but maybe you offer a different service, even though it's within that, or you can figure out other ways to use that place without having that, because it's such a huge difference in price. But maybe there's something else you could do in that time, in that space, until you can decide now it is actually worth spending the $5,000. But I would just first do, how many clients do I have to see a month? Do I have to increase prices to even meet that? And then will it make sense to make that $5,000 before you get into the loans?
Any other thoughts? All right. I have a pretty unique perspective that's aligned with what you're doing. When I owned my gym, I rented for several years, and I was paying about $7,000 a month in rent. I had the opportunity to buy a different building, and my mortgage was going to be about $1,800 a month. And I was like, okay, time to get a loan, because this makes a lot of sense. And the thing that really paid off for me was when I went to sell it. And you think about your exit strategies. With not a lot of us actually think about exit strategies. We're like, I'm going to do this forever. I love it. Until you don't. All right. So it helped with my exit strategy when I could package my business with that facility that I own. And it didn't hurt that real estate really kicked in, and the facility had doubled in value since I bought it. So that all helped with my exit strategy with the sales. So I kind of got repaid on the back end there. All right. Next question.
Good morning. My name is Josh. My wife and I own a functional medicine practice, and we've been doing one-on-ones for the last 6 years. And just out of effort to scale and not being exhausted, we've added a course. And Robert, I know you talked about doing courses. So if you could speak to how to kind of pivot and shift your business from one-on-ones to more of a evergreen course, or what worked well for you, or maybe some strategies that you utilize outside of podcasting. We're going to get into podcasting, but was there anything specific or anybody else that's done coursework that was a game changer for you, switching out of the one-on-one to reach more people? Thank you.
So I haven't launched my course yet. It's hopefully going to launch next month. But my plans, what I'm going to do, so I'm going to have a one-time cost for that course. It's going to be a premium price, but they're going to have lifetime access to that. But I'm going to continue to add content to that course over time. So they've got incentive there. But I'm also thinking about having an exclusive membership, portion as well, where if people don't want to purchase the course, they can become part of the membership site. And with that, I'll have weekly live calls or something that is much more scalable than one-on-one coaching. So if people get the lifetime access to the course, they'll have that membership by default. People that don't want to pay that higher price point for the course can just do the membership. And then I'm probably going to structure it such that the people that pay that course cost and have access to membership have access for the first a year or so. And then from there, it starts going to that monthly recurring subscription for the membership portion. So if you're continually adding value to the course, adding content to the course, and they know that, then it will be evergreen by default. And you can kind of bridge that gap by having a, temporary weekly live call or something for a specialty group there. That's what I would recommend.
So I don't have a program yet, but, well, I guess we have free programs, but so we do mostly one-on-one. I have 4 nutritional therapists at this point, but we do want to scale, so we're trying to do group programs. I think it also has a power of having other people have your illness and then being like, oh my gosh, I can relate. And I think it's so different than just talking to your therapist. So that's where we are doing group programs, or we're pivoting to some addition. And then from that, we want to parse out what is super effective in the groups that are helping people really have lasting change. And from that, we are going to pull those golden nuggets to then create an actual program that we want to sell. Because again, I think it comes back to having a quality product and service instead of just selling, here's a $100 course, and it's not really effective. And so we're just going to take a slower process to make sure that our program that's then, I guess, self-starting to be effective.
So we're introducing a course next week. On our staff, we have a clinical educator, Jessica Ernst. She's an RD, was 11 years at Cincinnati's Children's Hospitals doing pediatric epilepsy. And I sent her out to take all the courses that exist out there and to learn what each different people are doing, like what's happening in cancer world, what's happening in type 2 diabetes reversal, what's happening in epilepsy, what's happening in polycystic ovarian syndrome, and all these different areas, and what are the best practices. And then our clinical educator is there to try and help teach the medical profession. But one of the feedbacks that we got was the medical profession doesn't want to do this, really, to be honest with you. They're too lazy. They've got so much other shit to do. So we designed a course, but we went first to look for a learning management system. So if anybody's thinking of doing a course, look for the software to help you. There's some great software that's been out there. Make sure it can interact maybe with your e-commerce engines, or if you're using WordPress for your site. So when you think about your software choices, you've got to think about your mashup. If you can get a great mashup and that all the APIs can work together, you can get a much better system. So we first thought, okay, we're on WordPress. We want to be able to put the site on that. We need a learning management system. We'll do it. Okay, what are the tools that we need? It's there. Then we design the tools. But what we're doing on it, we're just repurposing our content. We've got hundreds of pages that we've already done. But somebody wants to be guided. So we're doing a very simple 28-day course, very affordable, that then a doctor can say, hey, I want you to do that. So it helps the independents. So we're trying to give the tools to the independents. We'll see if it's successful. It launches next week. Yay.
Now, I've created a lot of online courses, both when I was in the health space and in the business space. And one of the most successful strategies that I've had, if you want to transition from one-on-one into courses, is create a hybrid offer first that has both. Because guess what just happened? We can elevate that price. So if you're charging X amount for one-on-one, when you go, well, you're going to get 6 sessions with me, but also it comes with this 40 video course, bingo. We just added a lot of value. And when you create a course, think about the kind of mundane questions that you're like, if I have to teach somebody how to, whatever about ketones or count calories, I'm going to freaking go crazy. Put all that stuff in the course. So when I teach people about making money as a podcaster, all the regular stuff, I put it in the course. When we meet up, I add my special Adam herbs and spices. I can get really specific to them and their situation, how to apply that correctly. So I know a lot of you want to transition out of one-on-one because it's like repetitive and mundane and it's kind of driving you crazy. So if you take all the crazy stuff, put it in the course, I get pretty psyched to do all my one-on-one sessions. I feel creative and I get unique to them. I'm like, ooh, how can I apply my special stuff just to their situation? So bridge that over, raise the price, and then you can start going just course alone. All right, so that's one little strategy there. And if you are looking for software, I highly recommend Kajabi, Kajabi. And if you want to learn about it, hit me up on Instagram, Podcasting Business School. I've even got like a free trial link. I'll pass that along, so you can check that out. Kajabi. All right, next up.
Hi, my name is Holly. I want to thank you all for your time today, and I am a huge fan of all of your products. Your levels to commitment and integrity are amazing. If everybody had it, none of us would be sick and in need of help, so thank you for that. I am very curious as to what the time frame was between each of your concepts and your product launches, because there is no way that was quick. And I'm very curious as to what that was.
Great question. Let's go down the line. Yeah, everybody chime in.
All right, so I formulated the Keto Brick in 2017 during my competition prep because I wanted something that checked the boxes. I never planned on it being a product, but I was documenting my prep on my YouTube channel, and people kept asking about the brick, like, what is it? What's the recipe? How do I buy it? Where can I get it? And I just kept writing it off, like, oh, it's nothing. It's just something I'm using for my own prep. Don't worry about it. And then at that time, I had very few subscribers. I think my mom was one of the only subscribers I had. And she's like, Robert, people keep asking about this brick. You ought to start making it. And I'm like, I don't have time for that. I'm working on coaching right now. I've got 100 clients that I'm charging $100 a month. I don't have time. My girlfriend at the time, my wife now, she's like, well, let's just roll up our sleeves and make it happen. So that's exactly what we did. So it was conceived in 2017, and we launched in March of 2018. So probably about, 6 months, maybe 8 months from the time I formulated it to the time that it was an actual product that people could purchase. But most of that time was spent not planning on it being even a product. So it wasn't a whole lot of, you can be off the ground pretty quickly. Now with food products, you have to jump through a lot of bureaucratic hoops. Like it has to be produced in a commercial kitchen if it's going to cross state lines and shipping and things of that nature. But you can have a concept, especially if it's a digital product, really, really quickly. So don't ever let the time sway you away from it.
So meat is a special case. It's very difficult. There's a lot of red tape around meat, and rightly so. But Upton Sinclair wrote this book, The Jungle, in the 1920s, and we've been pretty paranoid about meat ever since. So, I think in 2018 I came up with a concept. I heard about carnivore, been struggling with my health forever, and totally made sense. The mechanism of like why pounding vegetables every day wasn't working for me in my dysbiosis. It's kind of fueling the fire that was killing me. So carnivore as an elimination diet helped me, but then I immediately came up with a problem. My family is big into CrossFit, and we were going to the CrossFit Games, and I was like, well, everything's paleo, but it's spice, and there's all these tubers, and there's all these other stuff that I'm trying to do this elimination diet. So I made pemmican, put it in a cooler, because I was like, I don't know how shelf stable this is. I don't know if I did it right. And so I was eating pemmican out of a cooler in a tent, camping at the CrossFit Games. And so I was like, man, there's got to be a better way to do this, because I took like the whole weekend to make this. It took forever to wait for it to dry and to do all these processes, and I had to make sure it was dry enough. So like the R&D process went pretty quick, a few months, but then the idea is like, oh man, I'm gonna need a whole bunch of money to start doing a commercial kitchen, to do this the right way so that the regulators will allow it. So Kickstarter 2019, open for business February 2020. Kind of a rough time to start. Immediately sold out, and being sold out has been my constant problem. So it's very difficult and slow to make. So we're still ongoing. I wouldn't say we've made it, but we exist, and we're grateful every day to keep existing.
So the timeline was, the idea was of November of 2016. So the goal, test 3 times a day for less than the cost of a latte. We wanted to get to $1 a piece on a ketone strip. So I drew up a list of 100 different manufacturers across the globe. I cross-matched that to the federal regulations, the FDA and the 510Ks. Was down-selected that list to about 8 manufacturers. Then got on the phone, got on the email, tried to get that, got on a plane, go visit Taiwan, visit your manufacturer. I incorporated the company on February the 17th of 2017. From February was then we started doing the packaging design as quick as we possibly could to get that done. And then we worked back from the timeline of once we had locked the packaging to when the production would actually happen. And we tried to pre-sell because we didn't have enough money. So for the month of August, we were pre-selling, and I'm trying to convince people that the product is coming. The product is coming, you know, getting photographs on the manufacturing line so they feel good about this thing. And and then we set the date for the first shipment, which was Gemma's birthday on September the 12th, because I remember that really, really well. So really from idea, like November, to saying, okay, let's go do this. And that's when we incorporated the company. And then there was obviously the tough conversation with your partner to go, do you mind if I borrow as part of the home equity line of credit? And she says, well, okay, how much? Probably all of it. And it was that and 10 times more.
So I published a book. I self-published my first one, and I have another one coming out. But I would say it took a year of writing and doing graphics. And I think it really, any product or service you create, it seems like a lot when you first think about everything you have to do. But I put just simple steps in. So maybe 500 words a day or chapter 1 a day. I started an outline, and it's just every time you take a little at a time and you chip at it, it ends up becoming a book. And I only wrote the book because I kept getting asked the same questions that I should have probably created a program. But instead I created a book because I figured, okay, if I just answer all the carnivore questions, I'll never get asked again. Doesn't happen, but so that's how I did it. It probably took a year and a half for it to finally come to print. And there was a lot of learning involved because when you self-publish, it's like remodeling a home. There's so many different components that you never think of when you publish a book.
I had the idea probably in 2018, but I was creating the product for myself. And then in 2019, I kind of started sharing the product with my family, friends, and my family was very encouraging to my aunt specifically. She was very encouraging me to start the business. And I told her, I'm like, I'm not a business person. I don't know how to do any of that business stuff. Like, it's not me. Like, I like creating, but the business side of the business, like, I don't know how to do that. And that was very overwhelming for me. But then Mark, who's my business partner, he runs the marketing side of things. And for me, even just creating the website, I know how to do it, but it's not something I like doing. So having him run that side of the business was very good for me personally, because then I could focus on creating. And from 2019, from the idea to 2020, when we launched the Kickstarter, and that's kind of how it just started growing. So it wasn't very long for us. It wasn't a very long process because I already had access to the commercial kitchen. Later, we had to move across the country to basically expand the production, but it can be fast if you know the right people, have the right connections, and if you have the money. But the money was also another thing that was very hard to get in 2020 when you're just starting. You really can't get any money from banks. So that was the thing that was holding us back a little bit. But from 2019, 2020 Kickstarter, and expanding our facility from 2,000 square feet to now over 12,000 square feet kind of happened fast, I feel like. But it feels like it happened within less than a year. But we're still here, so it's working.
So the clinic, MSW Lounge, it took 2 years to get that brick and mortar off the ground. You got to think building out permits, all the inventory, right? In Austin, it can be difficult. The supplements, you're looking at 6 months up to 12 months. Nowadays, I mean, they're ready to go. You just tell them what you want. They'll design everything for you, right? I mean, it gets quicker by the year. But know your sourcing, know your manufacturer. And the TikTok Nurse Doza account, I mean, literally it was created the day we decided to do it. And then, finally, a few months later, it goes viral. And then the podcast, the School of Doza podcast, I said I wanted a podcast, and a week later, we had it. So you talk about a product service, you can make it happen now with AI. It is nuts. And contracting and Fiverr, if you want it, you got it. It's just a matter how can you scale a podcast? You can scale a podcast with one person. That's great. I mean, I don't have to tell you how easy that is sometimes because it's really difficult. But when you dedicate to one thing instead of doing 3 or 4 things all at once, you just double down on what's working. But just make sure you know what your product is.
All right, great question. We're down to our last question of the day. We have 4 minutes and 50 seconds remaining on the clock. All right, what do you got?
Hey, y'all. Thank you for your transparency and your expertise. I just wanted to pivot the conversation for just a moment. I always find it interesting in the health space. We all enter due to our health journey. But then when you become an entrepreneur, the first thing to get thrown out is your own health. So I'd love to hear about how you guys deal with that challenge of balancing your own health. And if you have a family or a child, you know, a husband, wife, whatever it is, a partner, how are you balancing your private life, family life, and your own health?
Great question to finish. All right, let's do a lightning round here.
All right, I'll go real quick. So I'm a dad. My kids are going to be here. My wife's going to be here later. I own a business, a small business. Nothing small about it, right? I put myself first every day. Between 8:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m., I'm already up. Things are moving. Kids are at school. But you cannot get a hold of me. My phone is in the gym locker. I'm either in the sauna. I'm doing yoga. I'm in my own world. I'm meditating, okay? If I don't take care of myself, I am no good to anyone else throughout the rest of the day. I double down on my health because you cannot function without health. You cannot run a business. You cannot do the long hours unless you support your dopamine, your liver, your mental well-being, and your sleep.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know how to manage it. I gave up on it, and I used to think that, like, oh, you said yes. I thought I was gonna follow it. But when you have a business, when you're in manufacturing, and I'm the one that's manufacturing creating the product on a daily basis, sometimes you sleep 3.5 hours. Sometimes things break. You have to run to the facility, fix it, because you're the only one that knows how to fix it and how to get it right. Even though you do have dedicated people to handle that, you're still there. Because this is my baby. You know, I don't have kids, and I don't have a partner, and it's probably because of my business. I gave up a lot of relationships because of my business, and that's my passion, that's my dedication. Maybe in the future it's gonna change, but I kind of gave up on trying to manage, you know, and balance my personal life and business, because right now it's Carnivore Snacks is my baby, so it's my life right now. Hopefully it will change, and I'll take care of my health a little bit better, but right now it is what it is.
So I got sick because I wasn't taking care of myself. So I ended up landing in a mental hospital, and that's what changed my whole career from business to this. I still struggle with the balance of taking care of myself. And so sometimes if you're my client, you'll get an email at like 2 a.m. But I will still balance my sleep. So I may sleep in. I have 2 young boys, and they are my absolute priority. So they will come first and foremost. So if a client has to wait, they will wait. And that's where it goes back to, again, knowing your worth. So I have to charge more per client because I can only meet a certain amount of people. And then as I build my team, I need to make sure that they're taken care of too. And if we split the pie in a sense, then I need to make sure that there's enough pie to go around. So the way that I take care of myself is just to make sure that I get enough sleep, because that was one of the reasons why I had my breakdown. And then my husband has been a huge blessing in my life. So he quit his job to now support Nutrition with Judy because it's been successful enough. But he is a very in the moment type of person. So when he sees that I'm starting to get drained by what I'm putting out there, because I'm super empathetic, he will say, let's take a day off. And so he'll force me to drive around. And I don't understand why, but afterward, I get it. And I feel a lot better. I try to take care of myself with actual movements. So sleep, nutrition, I mean, carnivore is pretty easy to follow in that sense. And then and then having community. So I'm very extroverted. So it's just making sure I have that time for connection. And you just have to make sure to take care of yourself, because when I had my first child, I didn't take care of myself. I thought I could do everything, and it literally landed me in the hospital.
I'm bad. Sorry. My business is everything. It's those 15 mouths and families that we have to feed. And I know that I should do other things. But I've been in nutritional ketosis since 2015. So I've got that down. That's okay. Should I get more sleep? Absolutely. Having the support of your partner coming through this is massively important. And 9 months without any wage, that's tough. And then your partner is supporting you along the way. And then finally, my hardest employee was to bring in Gemma into the company, because she was like, well, we need healthcare, we need all of these things that comes on into play. But yeah, when we were first starting, I was doing customer service at 4:30 in the morning. And then, I was working with the Pacific Coast team to do the marketing, and the East Coast team doing the accounting. And then I'm working with my manufacturer at 5:30 at night. And then I take a break, and then I continue to work with the manufacturer because of the other time zone. And you repeat and serve, and you do that 6 days a week. But when everything's on the line, when you've got 27 years of your life savings because you put all of your house money and everything in, all the things that we know that we should do, we sometimes stop. So trying to find that, Gemma now bookends conferences, so we have a little bit of time off in different areas just to have the recharge. We do the little things. We know we should do more, but it's necessary beast.
So I'm with Sylvia. My health has definitely taken a back seat, unfortunately. It's kind of derailed me. So I just recommend, everyone make sure you're on really good footing with your sleep work-life balance, because the business is going to take more than you think it will. But hopefully it's worth it. One of the reasons I didn't quit is because I'm a medic. So I have 12-hour to 24-hour shifts where I would need the carnivore bar to be on that shift if I quit, which doesn't exist if I quit. So so that's circular. I have to make this work for my own survival. There's no plan B. And so I think just make sure you're in a good setting, and then put family first. Courtney, and my wife, she gets me through the day. Like Nutrition Judy's partner, sometimes you need someone who loves you to say, hey, flag on the play, take a rest.
Hi, my name's Robert Sykes, and I'm a workaholic. In all seriousness, though, sleep is very important. I was reading a journal from 2017 when we were first starting the content side of the business, and I had written down several days where I'd only gotten 2 hours and 30 minutes of sleep, consecutive days. I was working 4 jobs, starting the business, and trying to have a relationship. And it just, I ran myself into the ground, and I'm still running myself into the ground. And I've not been good at prioritizing sleep. And that is very important. And a lot of entrepreneurs get up here and they talk about how little sleep they get in this braggadocious way. And it's true, we've operated it on those fringe extremes, but that's not something that we're necessarily advocating for. We're damn sure not advocating for it. Sleep is key. I've not been good about getting enough sleep. What I have been good at is never deviating from my nutrition and my training. I've been in some depressed, dark times, y'all, especially with the business. And having Crystal by my side has been key. But no matter how deep in the depths of hell that I found myself in with regard to the business, having my training and my nutrition dialed in has given me at least one solid foothold that I can use to climb out of that hell. So find what that is for you and don't ever sacrifice it.
All right, allow me to counterbalance my group of Overworkers Anonymous over here. Let's end on this. I got a formula for you. All right, this may be the smartest thing I ever created, and I get one per lifetime. All right, so last year, I did not work 177 days. I didn't work. That's probably more days than everybody else combined. I worked 3 days per week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. How do I do this? This year, I won't work over 200 days this year. All right? Here's my formula. At the beginning of the year, I figure out the lifestyle that I want to lead that year, the life I want to live, and I figure out how much that's going to cost. And I don't work any more than I have to produce that lifestyle. Entrepreneurs are out there working themselves into their grave, chasing infinite income. That is the horizon line that doesn't exist. More isn't always better. So I'm like, what would I be satisfied with my life this year? What will that cost? Let's work until we make that much and then stop freaking working. All right, I'm ahead of schedule this year. I probably won't work the last quarter of this year. This is possible, but we have to set that. It's really different thinking. All right? So I'm going to challenge you on that. So think about what your lifestyle is going to cost, work those numbers, understand how much you have to bring into your business to create that revenue, be satisfied with that, and go and meet your family. They're probably awesome people. You know, I make my kids breakfast, lunch, dinner. We do workouts. I coach basketball. I'm flying out early today because priority number one, I coach the St. Louis Cobras 6th grade basketball team. And we got games this weekend, y'all. Like, that is priority. And I track the days that I don't work. Start tracking the days that you don't work, and you'll probably take more of them. All right? So think about that, y'all. I'm gonna DM all my friends here on Instagram and be like, okay, now we're gonna take a day off this weekend or what? All right, so that is it. We're out of time. Awesome entrepreneurial panel, mastermind. Give them a hand. If you have more questions, DM them, get a hold of them, and they're out there in these keto streets. All right, go out there and meet them when we're out there in they're all talking. Go out and see them in the vendor area, and I'm sure they'll be willing to answer some more questions. So thank you all for bringing your entrepreneurial knowledge. Thank you all for attending.